The Sports Ministry has finally decided to recommend Saina Nehwal's name for the Padma Bhushan award. This comes a day after Sports Minister Saina Nehwal said that he will look into the matter after Saina publicly expressed her disappointment at being overlooked for the prestigious award. The Sports Ministry has now decided to recommend Saina's case to the Ministry of Home Affairs as a special case, although the last date for making the recommendation is long over. Sonowal had clarified that the centre received a letter of recommendation from the Badminton Association of India only on January the 3rd, and that was the reason why Saina's name was not recommended. All right, Aparna Popat, who is in fact a badminton player, is now joining us live. Aparna, thanks so much for speaking with Headlines today. Sports Minister Sarabanda Sonowal now coming out and saying that they will make a recommendation to the Home Ministry, even though the last date for making that recommendation is long over. What do you make of the reaction that the Sports Ministry is giving?
Well, I think, it's really for them to, take this case into consideration, and the fact that they have considered, to recommend Saina's name for the award. I think they must have taken a lot of facts, into consideration, and, I'm glad that it has happened.
All right, I believe we seem to be having some audio problem with Aparna, but there Aparna clearly saying that the ball is in the Sports Ministry's court, and that the Sports Ministry now needs to make that recommendation to the Ministry of Home Affairs. Of course, a whole different question whether the Ministry of Home Affairs takes cognizance of that report. All right, Aparna is back with us on the phone line. Aparna, it is unfortunate that the Indian shuttler had to lambast the Sports Ministry, publicly come out with her criticism for that nomination to in fact take place in the first place.
Yes, I think it is unfortunate, that such a case had to play out. But, at the end of the day, there are a lot of things that need to be considered when such a big award is, conferred. So I think it's really for us to wait and see what were the exact reasons and what happened really, with Saina's case. But, I'm glad at this stage that they are going to consider and have recommended her name for, this prestigious award.
Right. Also, Saina Nehwal had questioned the criteria on the basis of which the Sports Ministry had recommended Sushil's name in the first place. Has this now become a Saina versus Sushil match?
I don't think that is how I would see it. Both of them are very established and recognized top sports persons of India.
Right.
So I think sharing an honor or it just to the ministry as to who they want to recognize and at what stage in and when they want to recognize it, and I think they should just accept whatever they get gracefully.
All right, Aparna, thanks so much for joining us with that perspective. Also live with me is my colleague Radhika from the newsroom. Radhika, there is a larger question here. As per the norms, there has to be a gap of at least 5 years between two Padma awardees, between two Padma awards being given to the same person. Sushil Kumar had received the Padma Shri in 2011, which technically means that he is not eligible for the award in 2015 again, and that is really what Saina Nehwal's big bone of contention against Sushil Kumar's nomination is.
Exactly, and that is the reason that Saina's nomination was rejected last year as well, because the ministry had claimed that the 5-year gap between the Padma Shri and the Padma Bhushan was not completed by her. So that was the reason she said that if my nomination was rejected last year and I submitted again because she has completed the 5-year gap, why was it rejected? Now, as far as Sushil's case is concerned, the Sports Ministry clearly said that they had recommended it as a special case since he is the only Olympian to win a couple of medals at the Olympics. So obviously the Sports Ministry took a special stand for Sushil, which wasn't taken for Saina last year, and even though she had completed the tenure, her name was not recommended this year. So that was the bone of contention, the biggest one that Saina had raised. And even though the ministry has come out and said that they received the nomination late, Saina and her family were very disappointed at the fact that her nomination was rejected by the ministry not just once but 2 years in a row.
But also, the larger question here is that the sports minister has come out and said that the ministry did not receive any nomination from the Badminton Association of India until January the 3rd, 2015, whereas the BAI claims that they made the recommendation well in time. Where does this mudslinging match between the BAI and the Sports Ministry really stop?
You know, this is not the first time that we are actually seeing federations come up and saying that the ministry was wrong and ministry saying that the federation was wrong. Every time the players have come out, this is not the first time. In fact, we've had various controversies regarding Arjuna Award selections as well. And every time players have come out and said that we were not given our due, there seems to be a mudslinging going on between the federations and the ministry trying to pass on the blame.
Right.
As far as the dates are concerned, the federations are well aware in advance what is the deadline to submit names for the various awards and the ministry to them. So if there was a delay on the part of the federation as far as the ministry is saying, then obviously the blame does lie with the BI because these dates are announced long in advance. But whether it happened or not, or whether the sports ministry is now trying to cover because of this public outcry by Saina, that still needs to be seen.
Well, absolutely. And while the sports ministry has now said that they're going to go ahead and make that recommendation to the Ministry of Home Affairs, it also remains to be seen whether the MHA really takes that recommendation into cognizance, given the fact that all the deadlines have in fact expired. Thanks, Radhika, for joining us with that update.